You ready for Bob Dole?
I really am.
Bob Dole. Bob Dole. Is Born to be Wild for Bob Dole?
Absolutely. Well, he's a wild one.
Again, this was recorded yesterday, and on very short notice. We were ready for him all morning, and then all of a sudden it was, well, Bob, we can't find Bob Dole, and so pressure was off, and I really it left my mind. I was like, okay, that's kind of a relief. I was a little nervous about Bob Dole.
Yeah, me
Bob
too.
Dole.
Same deal.
And then the next thing you know, poof, there was Bob Dole in our face.
Yeah, he was on the line, ready to go.
And we took a long commercial break and interviewed Bob Dole, and here's what happened. Hello, Mr. Dole.
Hey, how am I doing?
How are you doing?
I'm awake. That's a good start.
Yeah, we ran into a little problem there. We thought you were going to call.
Everybody told me about the change in time except me, and it's sort of necessary that they tell me, but they didn't do it.
Well, how are you always the last guy to know?
Oh, that's the way it's been all my life.
Well, I guess we get quite a story here. One soldier's story. This is really your biography, if it were, as it were.
It's not about. There's no politics in the book, and no how many plaques he has, and all the power. I want to write a book, which I thought might be an inspiration to young people or any age with a disability, or people who thought the world was coming to them and they reached 50 or 60 and they couldn't do anything. And so it's kind of, I hope that people are going to read it. I've already had some letters saying it really meant a lot to them and a lot to their son or daughter. So I hope
it's got to be inspirational. I mean, I'm just reading some of these things about it, talking about that horrific injury that you sustained in the war, and reading here, imprisoned in a frozen body that you couldn't sit up in bed, no control over bladder and bowels.
The nurses and the orderlies, the people who did it, they were just so wonderful. You knew it was just part of their job, but to me it was a big embarrassment every time.
Well, sure it was. Of course it was, yeah. I didn't even know how you got through that. Especially, you had no idea if that was going to be permanent, or, I mean,
I was told by some doctors, well, you probably won't walk again.
Oh.
I had this bruised spinal cord, but it was only bruised. It had been severed like some poor people had, these jumping in the pool or maybe on a bike have a spinal injury where they sever the spine or badly bruise it. Mine was bruised, but not badly, so I was able to walk around, hobble around in about 12 months and feed myself in about a year and a half.
Oh, my God.
I'm under the impression that you have no regrets about your war service, that you would do it again were you to encounter the same situation.
I think so. I mean, everybody can say, I would do it again, but I look back just in my own case. Maybe different people had different views, but in my case, I had a doctor in Chicago who finally told me to grow up and get on with my life. That's kind of shorthand. He didn't say it quite that bluntly. I did. I decided I got to start thinking about things I can do and stop worrying about things I can't do. And that sort of started me on the road to rehabilitation, which took 39 months in the hospitals and about another year. But yeah, it was 4 to 5 years. So
good God. And all that from trying to pull a wounded radio man to safety.
Corporal Sims was my radio man. He was out front. I can't remember whether I just reached him or just about to reach him or whether I really had a hold of him when I felt this sting in my right shoulder and my body kind of lurched forward, and I ended up with my head in the dirt, my face in the dirt, and I couldn't move anything. And of course, I didn't know what had happened. I mean, I didn't have any idea because I'd been shot and I had this near-death experience of my whole life just sort of passing by in a matter of, say, seconds. I saw the house we lived in, my parents, my brother, my sisters, my girlfriend, my little dog. I even seen my little dog.
God, that's amazing.
White dog.
Oh.
And it just sort of ended.
Wow. Being lucky enough to never have been in a war, never been asked to be in a war, just the literal timing of my birth is the reason why.
Yeah.
I don't know quite how to relate to what it's like, but I have to tell you, the first 20 minutes of Saving Private Ryan just blew my mind, and I felt like that was the best thing I could ever see to imagine what it was like. Have you seen that movie?
Oh, I've seen it a couple of times. I thought it was a little exaggerated, the first 20-some minutes.
Oh, you did?
But maybe it was that bad. I mean, ours was fairly clean. I didn't get in any big battles where I said, here, 5,000 Germans coming at me, and I fought them off with a, water pistol. But, I think it was probably that bad. Maybe on the invasion of Normandy, it probably could have been that bad. But I don't think in our, where I was in action, it was quite that bad. We had a pretty good plan. It was pretty well executed. We had a lot of casualties as far as I think we suffered more casualties per capita in that period of the war than any other division in America.
Bob Dole's book is called One Soldier's Story. We have an important situation going on right now with recruitment, which is really way below where they're supposed to be. And Mr. Dole, what I understand is it's the parents who are discouraging their children from signing up. What do you say to these people who, and it's certainly understandable in light of what's going on?
You know, the pay is much, much better. I mean, these kids are much, much smarter than we were. It's a great opportunity. You're going to get an education. You're going to get health care. So a lot of young people say, I'm never going to get sick. I don't need to worry about it. But you need an education. You can do that. You get pretty good pay. If you're married, you even have quarters for your family. You have a housing allowance. I mean, all this, I think, really makes it attractive, particularly for somebody who can't find a job or they're going to want to wait 2 or 3, 4 years before they get into the workforce. It'd be a great experience, and I think the Army's changed. I mean, it's not so formal and sophisticated. Well, I don't say whether it's sophisticated, but I don't know. I hope that they can provide some incentives to bring those numbers back up.
Bob, would you have ever imagined, say, 20 years ago that if somebody told you, you know what, in 20 years you're going to be doing a commercial for erectile dysfunction, would you have ever imagined that would have been true?
Well, it depends on what they were paying.
Well, you know, as horrified as I was when you first did that commercial, because it really, you were standing so close to the camera and it was so blatant. But, you know, in the end, you blazed the trail. Now there's a million in these ads.
In fact, we held up the commercial for quite a while because I said, I'm going to catch hell from every uninformed journalist in America, which cover quite a lot of them. And want to be their target of joke, which I don't mind a good joke. But then we finally we made some changes. But it never mentions Viagra in the whole ad, never even talked about it. But we talked about quality of life, which you can infer there.
Certainly.
Yeah.
I tell you this, I've had more than one woman come up to me in an airport and whisper in my ear, "Thank you, Senator."
I
bet you there's a few who'd like to whisper in your ear, "Damn you, Senator Dole!
Yeah.
Why did you have to get my husband reactivated?"
Yeah.
Whenever I get up, my first line, whenever I get to make a speech, I said, you know, I didn't bring any samples. That always brings the house down because they all know what it's about.
What did you have to talk Elizabeth into this? I mean, at first, did she have any reservations? Like, oh, please, Bob.
I think she thought it was on health, and I said, it is health.
Well,
the next day, after it broke, to see Mayor Giuliani about something, and she goes into this room for this big press conference. And, of course, the first question is not about New York or anything else. It's about, what about your husband and this Viagra ad? He didn't think of Viagra. Anyway, you know, that was... Anyway, I think it helped a lot of people, and for that, I'll take the heat and I'd take the money.
Senator Dole, we're out of time, but we look forward to hopefully a very successful book for you, One Soldier's Story. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, and thanks for a great Father's Day gift. It's coming up pretty soon.
All right,
thanks.
Thanks again. And that was taped yesterday, Bob Dole on WRIF.
Bob Dole.
Certainly a super nice guy.